This video is a short introduction to the quad shell system function. It's a monadic system function which allows us to execute external programs. In some cases, the APL program we are developing might need to perform some action which is already available to us in the form of a command line utility on our system. Examples of this could be wanting to check the status of a Git repository, getting the log describing recent changes, starting a new Docker container, or even something else entirely. For example, we can ask about the current version of Git that is installed. You'll notice a few things here. First, the command took a second or two to run, even though it's supposedly very simple. Much of this time is spent in PowerShell, which is what Quad Shell uses on Windows to evaluate commands. We can use a nested character vector instead to run the command directly, which is a bit faster. The documentation describes the differences between these two uses of Quad Shell in detail. The result looks quite complex, but for this video, we won't be diving too deeply into this. But as I said, that can be found in the documentation. We can create a little wrapper function that calls Git and returns the output produced. For the purpose of this video, we've prepared a Git repository in C drive/work. We can ask about the status of the repository or about the log. Anyone accustomed to Quad SH or Quad CMD will be pleased that Quad Shell does a better job of correctly determining the text encoding of the command output, as illustrated here by the display of the APL glyphs. The first two arguments we gave to our Git command are only needed because Git needs to know the directory of the Git repository. We can instead tell Quad Shell to change its working directory before running the command by using the working directory variant option. And now we can ask for the log again, without specifying the working directory as part of the command arguments. Enough Git for now. Let's try something different. Let's write a little PowerShell expression to tell us how many characters are in a given file. Okay, so something went wrong, and half the output looks like an error message, while the other half looks like it counted 0 characters. Most command line utilities output regular output and error messages on separate streams, which by convention uses number 1 for regular output and 2 for errors. Quad Shell, by default, doesn't separate the two streams, but we can tell it to do so. Now it's clear which part of the text is an error message. The output variant says, collect the output produced on stream number 2 as an array. The default for stream 1 is to also collect it, so there's no need to specify that here. Let's fix our command. The file isn't called info after all, but readme. And now there's no longer an error. This short, basic introduction to Quad Shell has shown a small portion of what it can do. The documentation contains extensive explanations of all the different variant options available to control it and make it useful for the specific command you want to run.